All right, first let's talk about revolution. There are 4 elements you need in order for a revolution to be successful, okay? The first is you need a really charismatic leader. Second is you need a broad mass appeal, usually land for the peasants, freeing debt, okay, end of war, peace. Then you need organizational discipline. Everyone has to get along, okay? It has to be a cohesive group. And the last element, of course, is you need incompetent opposition. Your enemy is a moron, okay? And of course, the classic example of this is Mao Zedong versus Chiang Kai-shek, okay? Mao Zedong was a charismatic leader who had a very strong organization, and Chiang Kai-shek, even though he had a huge army, even though he had the American army, even though he had all sorts of benefits, he was a moron, okay? And that's why he lost. All right, so the same is true for the Russian Revolution. This is Vladimir Lenin. He's not charismatic, but he is extremely focused. He's fanatical. And this is Leon Trotsky, who is very charismatic. He's a great speaker, and he's a Jew, okay? So I will point out that in 1917, he helped lead the revolution. But before that, he was actually in the United States. He had an apartment in New York City paid for by wealthy Jewish bankers. His uncle is a very wealthy Jewish industrialist in Ukraine. Okay, so he's part of this transnational capital network. And even though he himself is a revolutionary, he hates capitalism. If someone gives you money, you cannot help but be influenced by that person, okay? That's just a reality. All right, so October 1917 is when the Bolsheviks launched a revolution and they seized power. And then a month later, they organized an election. And as you can see, they are actually not the most popular party in Russia. They only have about 23% of the votes. The socialist revolutionaries actually have much more popularity than they do. They are 37%. And then you have all these different groups. The Ukrainians, the cadets who are liberals, the Mensheviks, the Cossacks. So at this point in history, Russia is divided into so many different groups. You have different ethnicities, you have different political programs, you have different orientations, okay? And this is what will launch the Great Civil War, okay? And at this time in history, remember, the Bolsheviks only control a certain part of Russia. They are the official government, but they only control a small part. And the White Army, which is a combination of the liberals and the monarchists, they have a much more stronger military. And also at the same time, you have all these different ethnic groups, the Ukrainians rebelling against the Bolsheviks, including the Polish. But over the next 5 years, slowly the Bolsheviks will obtain absolute power. And so the question is, how do they do that? Well, the first tool is terror. Okay, this is called the Red Terror, where they went around and killed anyone who opposed them. Now, what you don't understand is there's actually a strategy behind the Red Terror. The very idea is to steal as much money as possible from wealthy people, okay? So you're an aristocrat, you have a lot of wealth hidden. I need your money. So you either give me your money or I will kill your daughter, and I will kill your son, and then I will kill your wife, okay? So it's your choice. Give me all your money or I will kill everyone in your family. So the Bolsheviks were fanatical about this, and that's why they won the war. Leon Trotsky organized the Red Army in the war against the White Army. Okay, there were also the Greens, which were these peasants. So there was a lot. So the Bolsheviks were far behind. So how did the Bolsheviks, the Red Army, win the war? Well, guys, they had a lot of help. Okay, they had a lot of mercenaries coming to the country, tens of thousands of mercenaries to help them, especially the Chinese mercenaries, the Latvians, the Hungarians. Okay. Why? How did they get all this money? Transnational capital. Wall Street and City of London were bankrolling the Soviets. Why were they doing that? Also, we have to remember that at this time in history, during the Revolution, Britain and France, the United States, Japan sent armies into Russia. Now, what you learn in class is, oh, it's because they are capitalists and they fear the communists. And that's why they sent armies to try to reduce the Bolshevik threat. That's not true, guys. Why they said the armies is because the Bolsheviks reneged on debt, okay? Russia owed a lot of money to Britain, Japan, United States, and France. And so these armies were sent in order to threaten the Bolsheviks. So what the Bolsheviks did was they stole as much money as they could from the peasants, from the nobility, from the treasury, and pay off these armies. And then these armies helped them in the war against the whites. Okay, does that make sense? Okay? All right, so let's summarize what we've just learned. Now, what you're taught in history class is American Britain needs Russia in war against Germany, and that's why, and the Germans control the Bolsheviks, and that's why Britain and America would not support the Bolsheviks. And the counter argument is, no, it's transnational capital that has influence over Anglo-American foreign policy. Okay, do you understand? Anglo-American foreign policy, it's not to serve national interests, it's to serve private capital. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is, the Bolsheviks are communists, and so they're a threat to capitalism. And the counter argument is, actually, transnational capital cares about profit. They don't care about ideology. All right? What drives them is money, not ideas. The third argument is, the Bolsheviks hated imperialism and capitalism, so they would refuse to work with Wall Street and the City of London. And the counter argument is that they believe that the ends justify the means. We just have to do what we need in order to obtain power. Then we can create our socialist paradise, okay?